Ascent Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents HBR Guide to Getting the Mentoring You Need by Harvard Business Review, narrated by Jonathan Yen. Publisher's note: this audiobook has bonus material. Please contact whomever you purchased this audiobook from to request the material.
What you'll learn. Stuck in a career rut? Maybe you're itching to broaden your skills and take on new challenges, or perhaps you're eyeing a management role a level or two up. So how do you grow and advance professionally? Not by waiting for senior managers to notice you and bring you along. You'll be sorely disappointed by how long that takes, if it ever happens. The key is effective mentoring, and it's up to you to go get it. Done right, mentoring is one of the most powerful, efficient tools for learning and moving up. But to reap those rewards, you need to pursue them with rigor and commitment. This guide will show you how. You'll get better at deciding which skills to sharpen, finding new ways to shine in your organization, setting clear, realistic development goals, attracting influential sponsors, forging strong bonds with your mentors, giving back to them, accepting and using feedback, gauging your progress, building a diverse developmental network, learning from executives, peers, and protégés. Introduction. Taking Charge of Your Career by Tamara Erickson. Think of the most valuable insights you've gained about work and life. Chances are those gems came to you through some form of mentoring, not from textbooks or classroom lectures. People with the experience, knowledge, skills, or perspective you seek have shared their wisdom with you, maybe even helped you put it to use. Mentoring is indispensable to learning throughout our careers, not just while we're wet behind the ears. It's how we identify and fill critical gaps we'd struggle to address on our own. A good mentor is part diagnostician, assessing what's going on with you now, and part guide, connecting you with the advice, ideas, people, and resources you need to grow and move ahead. That kind of support is essential these days, since career paths are anything but simple and straightforward. You now have more options than you know what to do with, and even if you do have a clear sense of direction, you probably face organizational and personal hurdles. These factors complicate matters further. Shifting roles. Your development needs to change as you move from mastering content, producing the goods or services your company sells, to shaping context, setting the stage for other contributors to thrive. Generally, roles shift from content to context as you move up in an organization, but even that is changing as traditional hierarchical structures break down. Many senior roles involve equal parts strategy and execution, and many junior folks get involved in high-level discussions about company values and goals. So it can be hard to sort out exactly which skills you need to build at what time. Mentors bring a fresh perspective, combined with a vested interest in your success. They work with you to identify the keys to your progress and modify your behavior appropriately. Calibrating career potential. Sooner or later, most of us weigh our career expectations against our fundamental capabilities and passions, the time and energy we want to invest in our work, and the demands imposed by our lives outside work. That's hard to do in isolation. Again, mentors can help you assess where you are and figure out next steps. Mentoring does not always have to be about climbing. It can involve finding peace with the life you're leading, making the most of your choices, or carving out a new niche. As critical as they are, good mentors almost never come your way unbidden. Waiting for others to reach out to you, or for your employer to play matchmaker, rarely pans out. Certainly not with the frequency and commitment that you need and your career deserves. Although many companies recognize that mentoring leads to bench strength for them, not just opportunities for you, those that actually provide it tend to do so in old-school ways, through top-down, highly managed, overly scheduled, arranged marriages between organizational veterans and newbies. Programs that assign senior individuals to junior counterparts, of course in a good faith effort to match interests and personalities, are minimally effective because they're not tailored enough. They also force relationships instead of allowing them to develop organically over time through mutual trust and respect, and the follow-up is often spotty. Some company-assigned mentors take their mentees out to lunch once and then check that responsibility off their to-do list. The bottom line, even if you participate in a formal mentoring program, it's up to you to find the right people to work with, form strong relationships with them, tap them when you need them the most, and, just as important, return the favor. This guide will help you do all that. For starters, Sylvia Ann Hewlett and her co-authors explain in the opening chapter how you'll benefit from dedicated sponsors, mentors who go above and beyond to provide advocacy, resources, and tactical support so you'll prosper in the organization. Traditional mentors offer guidance and emotional support, but they're not as inclined as sponsors to stand up for you or call in favors for you. Use the information in the first section of this guide to consider what kinds of mentoring will best serve your needs. You'll also discover different, unexpected sources of mentoring that others have found valuable. Then, as you're listening to the second section, you'll step back and think more deeply about your current situation and where you want to go. For example, Harvard Business School management professor Robert S. Kaplan advises taking a very personal look at what success means to you and offers thoughtful guidance on how to get there. Other expert authors wrestle with tough issues like how to make yourself indispensable at work and why you didn't get the promotion you were hoping for. Finally, in the third section, you'll get practical counsel on finding the right types of mentors, defining your goals and expectations, building relationships, establishing a give-and-take dynamic, networking effectively. In short, making mentoring work for you. You'll also find tips expressly for millennials and Gen Xers and ways to learn meaningfully from your own protégés. At this point in your career, you may discover that you don't enjoy your work and need help charting a better course. Or you might find your work engaging, but still feel stuck or confused about where you're headed in the future. Or you may simply want to change the intensity of your work, to do less or do more. Working closely and deliberately with a mentor, you can meet challenges like these by playing to your strengths, building the right skills, understanding your role in greater depth, learning to manage up, expanding your career options through networking, and making smart work-life trade-offs. All this takes time and discipline, but it's well worth the investment. Tamara Erickson works with corporations to more effectively engage the changing workforce. She is the author of a trilogy of books on the generations, Retire Retirement, Plugged In, and What's Next, Gen X? She was named one of the 50 leading management thinkers in 2009 and 2011 by Thinkers 50. Section 1. What Good Mentoring Looks Like. Chapter 1. The Relationship You Need to Get Right. By Sylvia Ann Hewlett, Melinda Marshall, and Laura Sherbin. Catherine, a senior HR executive at a global financial services firm, takes pride in developing rising stars. After a vice president on one of her teams consistently impressed her, she recommended him for a more challenging role in another part of the company. Months later, Catherine heard through the grapevine that he was struggling in the job. She asked to meet with him. "You know we're in this together, right?" she said. "I put my reputation on the line, but I have no idea how you're performing and whether you need help or air cover." He promised to keep her in the loop, but communication dropped off again. Catherine realized that his commitment to the firm and to her had waned. She met with him once more and told him she could no longer be his sponsor. When Maria, a manager at a U.S. healthcare firm, was invited to join a mentoring program for high-potential women, she anticipated getting guidance that would help her advance. But her assigned mentor, a physician and vice president, took little interest in Maria's career. Instead, she lectured to the group about her own path and gave direct advice only to the participants who were also MDs. In the end, Maria turned to existing allies for career support. "Not everyone in leadership knows how to be an advocate," she reflects. In 2003, Mark McLean, an openly gay innovation consultant at Whirlpool, was asked to serve on the company's Diversity Council, headed by then-COO Jeff Fettig. He excelled at the work and in 2004 sought an appointment to Southwest Michigan's Council for World-Class Communities, a nonprofit that furthers economic and social growth in the largely African-American community of Benton Harbor, Michigan, where the company is headquartered. Fettig supported his bid and also persuaded CEO David Whitwam to make McLean Whirlpool's Director of Diversity, enabling him to be the council's executive on loan. That year, Fettig moved up to the CEO job and gave his protege a new mission: to ensure gender balance among senior managers globally. McLean set 4-year goals and aligned Whirlpool's recruiting strategy accordingly. Mark not only grasped our vision for key areas of the company, he played a critical role in implementing it, Fettig says. McLean also demonstrated his allegiance to Fettig outside the office. The CEO is a trustee of the local Boys and Girls Club, a nonprofit he sees as key to making Benton Harbor a world-class community that might have greater appeal to Whirlpool recruits and be more likely to yield local talent. McLean joined the board and, with Fettig's coaching, became president after 6 months. He instituted reforms that turned the organization's $125,000 deficit into a $500,000 reserve and nearly doubled its membership within a year. If someone believes in you and gives you an opportunity, it is incumbent upon you to go the extra mile, he observes. The dynamics of sponsorship. As the earlier examples show, the relationship between sponsor and protege works best when it helps both parties. Catherine, who requested anonymity to protect her firm's reputation, cut ties with her former vice president because he failed to demonstrate basic responsiveness, let alone deliver the standout proactive effort she'd expected. Maria, who asked for anonymity because she still works with the physician once assigned to mentor her, found that the older woman lacked a grasp of the give and take intrinsic to effective guidance. By contrast, Fettig and McLean worked together on the twin goals of hitting Whirlpool's business targets and enhancing their reputations as leaders in the community. Sponsorship can help catapult junior talent into top management, while also greatly expanding the reach and impact of senior leadership, but only when both sponsor and protege recognize that it's a mutually beneficial alliance, a truly two-way street. Our recent research bears this out. We conducted 3 national surveys of nearly 4,000 professionals in large corporations, held focus groups with more than 60 vice presidents and senior vice presidents, and interviewed nearly 20 Fortune 500 executives. The best sponsors, we found, go beyond mentoring. They offer not just guidance, but also advocacy, not just vision, but also the tactical means of realizing it. They place bets on outstanding junior colleagues and call in favors for them. The most successful protégés, for their part, recognize that sponsorship must be earned with performance and loyalty, not just once, but continually. We repeatedly heard CEOs and top managers say that they wouldn't be where they are without strong sponsors and loyal protégés. One Fortune 500 CEO gave a powerful illustration. When interviewing candidates for senior positions, he always asks them, "How many people do you have in your pocket? If I asked you to pull off something impossible that involved liaising across 7 geographies and 5 functions, who owes you one and could help you do it?" He told us, "I'm not interested in anyone who doesn't have deep pockets." Ensuring that you have sponsors is a lifelong project, no matter what your position. As she neared retirement age, a senior partner at Ernst & Young belatedly recognized that she hadn't refreshed her pool of sponsors. "I had always looked forward to a second career as a board director, but I'm realizing that being selected for a board seat is all about sponsorship," she says. "You can't apply for these positions. You've got to be tapped." Nor is it ever too early for a junior executive to start cultivating protégés. Chris Erbauer, the manager of Veterans Initiatives at GE, acknowledged that to achieve CEO Jeffrey Immelt's goal of making the company an appealing employer for returning vets, she would have to develop a posse of high-performing subordinates. "With all eyes on me to deliver, I'm going to need some dedicated help," she told us. Our first exploration of sponsorship, a 2011 HBR special report titled The Sponsor Effect, revealed the impact a sponsor can have on virtually every aspect of an employee's career, boosting the ability to ask for and get raises and promotions and find satisfaction at work. Yet relatively few of the employees we surveyed, 19% of men and 13% of women, reported having a sponsor. The use of a sponsor as a career lever is sometimes poorly understood, other times perceived as rife with risk, and corporate initiatives designed to jumpstart sponsorships have had, at best, mixed results. Leaders can't lobby convincingly for up-and-comers they don't know, and junior employees paired with sponsors don't see what they can contribute or can't deliver it. Seeking to better understand these relationships, we launched a second round of research. Our initiative, Sponsor Effect 2.0, enabled us to map the quid pro quo, how protégés can attract, sustain, and deploy sponsors to progress in their careers, and how sponsors can use the dynamic to extend their reach, expand their skills, build networks, and demonstrate leadership. The sponsor's role. What exactly does a sponsor do? According to our research, it boils down to 2 things: putting one's reputation on the line for a protégé and taking responsibility for his or her promotion. A good sponsor will groom you to audition for a key part in a prominent production, nudge the director to choose you, and coach you on your performance. While you're on stage, she'll train a spotlight on you so that everyone takes note of your abilities and potential. Should you stumble, or should the audience turn hostile, she'll come to your aid, at least the first time. After all, protégé means one who's protected. When we asked managers what they hoped for in a sponsor, 74% said they want a sponsor to provide honest feedback, specifically by suggesting ways for the protégé to narrow gaps in skills and experience. Other frequent responses included, provide feedback on how to look and act like a leader, 59%, provide opportunities for visibility internally, 49%, help me define career goals, 44%, and be willing to defend me, 41%. The degree to which a sponsor will come to the rescue of a protégé varies considerably, however. A Siemens executive told us her sponsorship has to be clearly merited lest it look like favoritism. If you screw up, I may step in, but if you continue not to thrive, I'll have to step away, she says. At the law firm White & Case, by contrast, partner and tax attorney Jim Hayden supported his protégé, Sumira Kokar, repeatedly. When Kokar had a conflict with another partner, Hayden intervened to mend fences. When long-term clients demurred at liaising primarily with an associate, Hayden vouched for Kokar's expertise. In subtle and overt ways, he ensured that she could thrive, which, indeed, she did, eventually making partner. Every time I needed something, he made it happen, whether by his presence or his influence, Kokar recalls. The protégé's part. What protégés should do for their sponsors is less well understood. Our survey indicated that the top two imperatives are demonstrating trust and showing loyalty. Some 61% agreed with the former idea, and 49% agreed with the latter one. When we asked potential sponsors, 62% said protégés should assume responsibility and be self-directed. 39% said they should deliver 110%, and 34% said they should offer skill sets and bring a perspective different than mine. One respondent summed it up this way: a protégé who doesn't do everything in her power to make her sponsor look smart for backing her is wasting the sponsor's time. Ed Gadsden, the Chief Diversity Officer at Pfizer, emphasizes that a protégé should keep her sponsor apprised of critical developments, conversations that might be off his radar, and constituencies outside his circle. He recalls a conversation with his sponsor, the late legal scholar and federal judge Leon Higginbotham. Early on, Gadsden asked Higginbotham what he got out of the relationship. Higginbotham replied, "You're nothing like me. The people you're around, the things you see, what you're hearing, you provide a perspective I wouldn't otherwise have." Today, Gadsden appreciates this quality in his own protégés. Several successful protégés spoke of achieving their sponsor's vision, recall Mark McLean. At a large government contractor, one team leader, a former member of the military, described a boss whose big-picture goals required great tactical expertise. I'd see where he wanted to go, and I didn't say, "That's never going to work," but rather, "Yes, sir," he told us. I found solutions, and he appreciated that. Together, we really drove results and fast-tracked both our careers. Mentors and sponsors, how they differ. Companies need to make a sharper distinction between mentoring and sponsorship. Mentors offer psychosocial support for personal and professional development, plus career help that includes advice and coaching, as Boston University's Kathy Cram explains in her pioneering research. Only sponsors actively advocate for advancement. Classical mentoring, ideal but rare, combines psychosocial and career support. Usually, though, workers get one or the other, or if they get both, it's from different sources. Analysis of hundreds of studies shows that people derive more satisfaction from mentoring, but need sponsorship. Without sponsorship, a person is likely to be overlooked for promotion, regardless of his or her competence and performance, particularly at mid-career and beyond, when competition for promotions increases. Mentors can sit at any level in the hierarchy, provide emotional support, feedback on how to improve, and other advice, serve as role models, help mentees learn to navigate corporate politics, strive to increase mentees' sense of competence and self-worth, focus on mentees' personal and professional development. Sponsors must be senior managers with influence, give protégés exposure to other executives who may help their careers, make sure their people are considered for promising opportunities and challenging assignments, protect their protégés from negative publicity or damaging contact with senior executives, fight to get their people promoted. Excerpted from Harvard Business Review, September 2010. Finding each other. Most sponsors cultivate protégés not from self-serving motives, but because it's the right thing to do and can be a gratifying experience. Paying it forward is my way of paying back the people who helped me get where I am today, says Anne-Marie Neal, the Chief Talent Officer at Cisco. Leaders will give their time, attention, and relationship capital only to people who perform exceptionally well. Catherine's vice president caught her attention, she told us, because he was the kind of guy you could put in a room and he'd come up with that big idea. Sponsors also get behind those who are hungry for backing. Cynthia Rivera, a senior diversity specialist at Freddie Mac, notes, "They've got to show me they're going to make the most of what I have to give." Finally, while many sponsors seek protégés who balance their own strengths and weaknesses, they also tend to support people with similar values, mindsets, or backgrounds. My race and gender often form the basis for my affinity because there are so few female multicultural leaders in tech, says Rosalind Hudnall, the Chief Diversity Officer at Intel. I see myself in them and in the challenges they'll face, which allows me to help them in ways others might not be able to. Junior executives should be just as selective when seeking sponsors, and they should take a proactive approach. One IT professional highlights a common mistake. "I was great at building business and had tons of cheerleaders, but I had that typical Asian keep your head down and you'll get taken care of mindset," he recalls. "My boss had to take me aside and tell me that if I didn't actively cultivate her as my sponsor, I would never progress beyond senior associate." The most successful protégés are not content with one sponsor. Throughout their careers, they scan the horizon for leaders who either embody their values, the quality most sought by 45% of the protégés we polled, or value their strengths, 43%. They target leaders whose style they can complement, bringing tactical follow-through skills to visionaries or offering pushback to collaborators. They target leaders they think could benefit from their networks as well as their expertise. And they routinely ask for career guidance, feedback, and stretch assignments. A vice president with 26 years of experience remembers consistently approaching her bosses for more responsibility. "Sponsors cannot be clairvoyant," she explains. "If you want to grow in the organization, then spell out how, and the introductions or team postings will follow." Cynthia Rivera recalls that early in her career she asked for an appointment with the executive vice president. When his assistant pressed to know her business, she said it was a personal matter. During the meeting, she laid out her career history and desired trajectory, soliciting feedback on the skills and experience she might need. "Ask for input, not a job," she recommends. "You don't want to go in there waving a resume." The strategy paid off. By the end of the meeting, she had won a sponsor. Women seem particularly reluctant to be so proactive. "They don't want to have to toot their own horn," explains Suba Berry, a senior vice president at Freddie Mac. During a previous job at Merrill Lynch, she found an alternate strategy. She asked 3 female colleagues, all reporting to different executives, to meet monthly over lunch to discuss one another's work. That way they could knowledgeably promote the others to those in their own circles. "When women talk about each other, we can be quite eloquent," Berry observes. "So I might say to my boss in response to a problem he was airing, 'This is something my colleague Lisa's been working on. She's got some great ideas. You need to talk to her.'" The strategy was remarkably effective, gaining Berry and her lunchmates C-level positions within and outside the firm. Respondents offered several additional sponsor-winning tactics. Chief among them was leading with a yes, voicing enthusiasm when offered a challenging assignment. If you have reservations, don't air them right away. Others included bringing in new business, keeping potential sponsors.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?